And we're back for movie madness, or whatever I called it last time we were doing this. We're here with Spear as we were reviewing Dragon Ball Super Superhero. I have been calling it Dragon Ball Superhero for a couple of months now, only to realize that it's actually Dragon Ball Superhero. Super being redundant in the name. I don't know why they just didn't take the other super out and just put hero in it. That would have worked out so much better. Yeah, it's Dragon Ball Superhero. I don't know. I didn't say suit. What the heck? Are you high? Why are you? As we are here, Spear is in rare form, or probably consistent form, I should say, actually. I guess I should speak of rare. They decided to really lean into Bulma's butt this entire movie. Well, not the entire movie, the first half. Vegeta's already done that, so you try to fight that line. We, huh? Wow. Well, I mean, that, according to the end credits. No, Vegeta won that fight against Toppo in Dragon in the anime. I feel like he's won a couple other things since then, actually. But I guess with all that, we'll start reviewing this movie. Moving on. I'm not gonna get into the semantics of that entire conversation. We'll just go with whatever you're saying. We'll just do that. With that out of the way, we're gonna start reviewing Dragon Ball, this superhero. Before we get on this, what I want to say is that you probably feel differently, but I feel like this entire movie was Akira Toriyama apologizing to the Gohan fans. Unfortunately, Gohan's gonna go back to being ridiculously useless, probably, if they ever continue on with the anime. This entire anime was like a callback to. I mean, this entire movie was a callback to a little bit of part of the Frieza saga with Piccolo coming back on the Namek. A little bit of that, and then the rest of it was kind of just like pulling from the entirety of the Cell saga, which is weird. I mean, like, most of it was the Cell saga. Poor Cell. He was actually just Broly about the personality. And no, I feel like he was mostly mostly Broly. I mean, he was mostly just rage and anger. That was not really, it had no real reason to being there. He was just angry. That was rage. All that was rage that he was feeling. And that's not saying the rage was directed to anybody or caused by anything. It was just there. He didn't have a brain. Well, he may have had a brain, but he didn't have a personality. No, I mean with the well, the Broly we got now, but the previous Broly, there wasn't a personality there. I mean, though that was American Broly, and that was not the bro. No, not really. He was just a Saiyan with emotional damage that was mostly rage, and it allowed him to transform to even further heights for no real reason other because he could. Well, I mean, Cell Max was an incomplete monster. You talking about the robot that Vegeta fought? You talking about that scientist in the middle of it? I don't think that was a rage beast or whatever. I don't even remember. I don't even remember that fight all that well. I mean, I honestly believe it was a rage beast. I mean, like, was there a reason for the rage? No. I mean, I'm not sitting there saying that Cell's appearance made any sense, but no, I think that Cell had spots over him because I mean, all that really was, they just reused Cell in perfect form. I never noticed any of those moments. I don't exactly have access to that. Like I said, I would have to pop in my DVD for that, and I'm not gonna, you know, try to do that right now. Like I played about doing that in the animation, but not in the manga comic thing that they like. I think that would have been way more annoying. But I guess before we get ahead of ourselves, we'll go back to the very beginning of the movie. Um, oh, am I literally like not like I haven't put this DVD and I don't think I will. I kind of got music playing in the background, and the little player that I'm using for that actually is how I watched the movie. So if I did that, I had to stop the music. I, you don't have to prove it to me. If that's how, if that was the joke, that was the joke. I don't necessarily see. I could probably look it up anyway to see like it's all about spots. And I'm pretty. wherever you sent. I mean, you said Facebook. Did you send it to me on my actual feed? Where's Facebook even on this thing? Wait. No, I'm fine. I just need to find. I barely use Facebook on my phone at all. There it is. I don't know why it doesn't let me know. I don't want to get Messenger right now. Huh. That's interesting. It doesn't look bad. I mean, if anything, this is kind of just like the whole concept of Piccolo's lines on his arms. That also disappeared in this movie as well. But oh, I was wondering if that was just the original, like. I don't get it. Why would they have access to the original? Never mind. I mean, I feel like I saw that angle though. I mean, I'm not gonna fight you on it. I mean, I believe you. I'm just saying that I thought I remember that scene that exact way. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm imposing thoughts on past me that didn't exist at the time. I don't know. No, oh, not at all. That was not being sarcastic, by the way. Just want to point that out. That was not me being sarcastic. You're fine. You're fine. We're good. Dang it. This is just like people do not know or talk to us on a daily. So these thoughts that they're getting right now, these conversations are not exactly how we communicate, folks. Want that to be out there in the open. As I was thrown off track, the very beginning of the movie, it's either, I'm trying to remember how the movie starts. I think it's like we already. No, is it with Pan and Piccolo's training, or do we start on Lisa's planet? Oh yeah, that's right. Oh, that's right. I remember now. It's when his grandson gets released from jail. Okay, we'll start with that. I think that's probably an interesting bit, even if it's just a tiny bit. As usual, the Red Ribbon Army is trying to, gain back their hold on the world, as apparently they've been trying to on several occasions ever since Goku was a kid. Pretty much blew them up. They even showed that scene. I'm guessing they animated that to make it look like it was from the original show as well, apparently. That was kind of cool, a little bit flash, but they kind of just put, if nobody's watched Dragon Ball, they don't probably know who the Red Ribbon Army is, and if you didn't watch Dragon Ball Z, you definitely don't know who the Red Ribbon Army is, because they do a little bit of explanation there as well. But it's kind of cool that. Speaking of like things people didn't know, and it's probably way more well known now, but I do like how they did the little family tree, and then they showed. I'm pretty sure you recognize Android 21. But back when she was introduced, I think it was 21. I forgot her actual number, but you already probably knew this, but people who don't know, that android is either one of two things. It's either his wife enhanced, or it was built in the image of his wife. He's either his wife or his daughter. Yeah, it's one of the it's one of the, it's really weird. You only really learn that back in Dragon Ball Fighters if you start really looking into her, because it's one of the she's one of the characters that Dragon Ball Fighters introduces, and people lose their mind over her. Um, so it's one of those. I guess if you didn't know that, well, you now know that it's basically. I'm not sure it was confirmed by Toya, but a lot of people are insinuating that that was his wife, is what she was. 'Cause I think she says something regarding that she something about her, the way she was designed as either his wife or something. I'm not sure if it's his wife's body. It's probably not. It's probably just designed to look like his wife, like how Android 16 was designed to look like his son. That apparently it sounded like, to me, at least from the English dub, this might have just been the dub's fault, but it sounded like his actual son was still around. I thought the story behind him, though, was that his son died and he wanted to make a robot or an android based on him, but I don't really know. Might have been a dub's fault. At least to me, it sounded like maybe I misinterpreted the line. I forgot the line, but it was when they were talking about the family tree. So the narrator. And he made it sound like, to me, that his son was still alive, or maybe his son was alive when he made the robot. I don't know. Maybe I'm misinterpreting. I'm under the suggestion that I think a lot of them are dead. The only person that's actually alive right now is his grandson. I guess we can get into him. Don't know how to feel about him. Still don't really know how to feel about him, but well, I think that's I don't think it's inconsistency that was meant to be for him. I think what it was meant to be was that he realizes, I mean, he says this too, he doesn't like the Reverend Army, he doesn't like the connection that it has with his family. He thinks they're evil. Spoiler alert, they're evil. But he kind of gets tricked. I think that his whatever's going on with him, he's either really naive, when I'm probably more willing to believe that, but at the same time he's a genius, which completely collides. Hmm? Oh, yeah, that whole thing, actually, funny enough, actually gets explored in the manga. I it's unfortunate because actually that part of the manga actually has Krillin starring in a starring role, and it's unfortunate because Krillin gets shafted here later on in the movie. So it's kind of unfortunate, but yeah, he does, in fact, this is before he gets put into jail, actually. You know, this is before he gets out. He actually doesn't even, like, they're looking for him. As far as I can tell, he's kind of can't hear Spear. Wait, seriously? No, Spear only 6 can't hear you. Wait a minute. What's happening? What the heck? Why is OBS doing this to me every time? I'm so confused. Why does it do this to me? I don't change anything, I just hit the start button. Try it again. It looked like it was working before, which is why I didn't do anything. I muted it, both of us, but I thought I saw it still, like, registering that you were there. I'm gonna just add audio capture again. Gonna use an existing one because why the heck not? That should solve that issue. I'll just remove this one down here. Try. Okay. Can you hear him now? Say something. Talking to you. Spear. Jot.
You're so easy to mess with.
What?
You're so easy to mess with.
Can you hear him now, 6?
Hey, Six.
Okay, I don't know why.
Uh, what was that?
No, that was just me sighing at my own incompetence. Don't worry about it. He says hi back.
You were having a gamegasm.
That's just my own incompetence. Apparently flowing. I don't get it. Why OBS just does that? Like, it doesn't mess with my mic. Well, it will mess with Discord.
We're losing Six to lurking again.
I mean, he was lurking before, but I guess he just wanted to say something to let me know that something wasn't right.
He's a flirkin.
Okay,
Thank you, Six.
nothing. I didn't say anything.
I said thank you to Six, not you. Why would you deserve a thank you?
Wow. Wow. I'm just gonna end the stream now. End the podcast. It'll just be the last one. It's an abrupt end. This is an abrupt end, and nobody hears from me again.
The irony would be if like they couldn't hear you now, so like all of a sudden the podcast just ended.
Oh,
and
dear
nobody
God.
knew why or any context. They just heard me talking, and then the podcast ended. It's the weirdest podcast I ever heard. It just ended one day. They went on for like 5 years or 6 years, and then it just went.
So, to recap, what sounded like I was talking to myself, which I was not. I guess we could talk about. I mean, we were kind of just like going back and forth with some things. We didn't really talk about anything too important, other than Dr. Jiro's grandson. Right now, I don't really got much more to say about him, like other than what will come up later on in the movie. He's apparently a hero fanatic, which completely kind of goes against what he does later on, which is like work for the Reverend Army.
But he's tricked into it. He's tricked into thinking that Bulma's like. He's very naive outside of like his like scientific knowledge. He's tricked into thinking that they like. Bulma doesn't even have a problem with him later. She like hires him to like become her cosmetic surgeon.
Which that's an entirely different kettle of worms. Her
Kettle
cosmetic
of worms?
surgery.
How often do you have a kettle of worms?
Never actually. This is probably the first.
A kettle of them.
They recruit him after he gets out of jail. Apparently, they somehow knew he was the time and the day he was getting out of release from prison. They pick him up and they sweeten the deal with Oreos, which comes back constantly to the half of the movie. Huh?
Did you do that on purpose?
What?
Say sweeten the deal with Oreos?
No.
You did, didn't you? You're so happy with yourself.
Am I?
I think you are. It is.
You can't prove that.
It's my professional opinion that you are.
You're a professional? I didn't know this.
Yeah.
But
I've been podcasting for years.
But as I'm trying to power through here. But essentially, like Magenta, who's his name, I feel like we've seen this guy on several occasions, and nobody's either killed him or, well, he does die in this movie though, so never mind. Maybe that'll be the last we see of this character. I feel like you've seen Magenta a lot, and I feel like he was around during Dragon Ball, but I could be completely wrong about that too. You would know more than I would, but
Magenta, I think, is a new character.
Okay, I was kind of weird because I was like, "Is that?" I know that it was Red. Oh, that's right. Magenta is a son of Red. That's what it is. Magenta is a son of Red.
The closest I've seen to a character like Magenta was in Dragon Ball Z when they had that character that. Excuse me. When they had that character that was like had the dome. Do you remember everybody was hiding in the dome to save themselves from Cell?
You mean the tent with Hercule Satan?
No. There was a scene, it was like a filler episode of Dragon Ball where there was like a midgety guy that was super rich and they were all going to save themselves from Cell. So they created a dome and they were charging people to like go into the dome and kind of bullying people that weren't. And Gohan happened to be in the area and he went and saved everybody. That was the closest I've seen to a character like this, because that character was somewhat like him, at least.
Huh.
You don't remember that character at all, huh? It's like not a big deal if you don't, but he was like.
I'm trying to remember, because I remember that episode, and when he said that he was somehow nearby, the only thing I can think about, and this is like way too early, the one I'm thinking about, this is a situation where Gohan was somehow, with some strange reason, nearby saving some people. Like, but I don't think this is the right person, because I think that was before Goku came back when Vegeta was coming to the planet, so that was the wrong situation.
It even has its own fandom article. I just sent it to you.
I do not remember this. This is news to me. I feel like this was like one of those like Mandela effects. I do not remember this.
If you look at the pictures on the bottom, there's a dude in like a purple.
Wait, Mercenary Tao was involved?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I recognize that guy's face. Bourbon.
If you look at the bottom, there's a guy that looks very, very similar to him, and he has a purple suit instead of a magenta one.
Well, I mean, he's this guy. I remember him now. He's Bourbon. I do not remember this episode. I must have because it was filler. I'm guessing I must have just like didn't make any mental note of this in the future.
Well, he's pretty close. You know what I mean? He's rich. He's related to the Cell Saga. He's probably a real throwback, you know what I mean, to what's going on there. Given that, like, it's
maybe he was supposed to be magenta. Who knows? If I'm being honest. According to the image, though, he's called Bourbon, so that's definitely not him.
But I think it's like sort of a rebirth of him, or you know what I mean, a rehash of that character.
Mm-hmm.
That would be my guess, anyway. Like, I mean, he doesn't have a lackey with a giant, like, basically he doesn't have like a Shaman King buddy coming with him, but like it's basically the same guy.
But that was really interesting. I remember seeing this character. I just don't remember his importance. But thank you for that. I definitely would not remember this guy.
That's okay. That's what I think they were going for, though.
Yeah, I can see it. After they do all that with the recruiting of, successfully recruiting, what was his name? It's Dr. Drill's grandson. I completely forgot his name.
Dr. Hito?
Yeah, Dr. Hito. I don't know why I keep on calling it Dino. That's not his name. Like, Dr. Hito. To recruit him to, like, make to work on the next Cell project, obviously. Cut away from that. That's the very beginning of the movie. I guess we cut away to Gohan's daughter training with.
When they do the recap, by the way, where they're showing Cell doing his metamorphosis and stuff, that's definitely 2D Cell animation. When they're doing the recap about everybody, I mean, the scene of Trunks fighting Mecha Frieza might not have been, but the scene later when they're talking and they're doing the recap of how Cell goes through his metamorphosis and everything is pretty much definitely.
I mean, I believe you. I didn't know that that's what they were going for. I didn't know they actually reanimated. I can't tell when they reanimate something or took the footage from the original. I cannot tell that for whatever reason.
Which is probably not like a terrible thing if you think about it.
I guess it depends on what you want. I mean, honestly, I would have preferred not knowing if that's what they were doing. But I mean, hey, if they were taking the dedication and the time, the manpower to do that, I did it for them. They were somehow able to replicate it. I think in this entire movie's probably been about replication. We'll get to that in a minute. But totally from that, we see Gohan's daughter training with Piccolo. We're seeing that she's actually really good. Piccolo comments on her actually being really good. Possibly also commenting that she could be strong. She could be stronger than Gohan, or strong as her father, as strong as her grandfather.
Hmm.
This kind of comes back to a lot in this movie, and I don't know whether this was just something they decided to put in there. Apparently, Piccolo commenting that Gohan could be like really freaking strong, like immeasurably stronger than his father. I remember Piccolo commenting. I remember Piccolo commenting on Gohan's potential. I thought that kind of fell through the water after Gohan started training. This entire movie completely, I guess,
But
retcons a lot of
we're
Go.
talking about Piccolo right now, though, and Piccolo would still believe in Gohan. They have a pretty special connection.
Yeah, I guess that's true. I mean, I'm not discounting anything he said. I like it keep bringing it. They actually brought it up several occasions, and it was like a major. Obviously, it was a major plot point for what happens later. But it was just like, they're really railing on that one line. Like they're really railing on it. Like they want you to remember that. It was really cool. I mean, Piccolo also comments that Gohan's slacking on his training, which is obvious, but Gohan has a life now, and a wife.
All of the above.
But yeah, all the above.
All of the above.
But he's training Pan. Pan wants to learn how to do energy balls, energy waves, like the Kamehameha. Piccolo's like, not until you learn how to fly. Pan tries to fly, and unfortunately is unable to get off the ground.
You know what's interesting here, though, is that in the manga, Pan hasn't learned how to fly yet, but at the end of this movie, she does.
I have not read that far, actually. I kind of stopped myself, and I probably should have read further after the movie. I had a day to do so, but I didn't.
All right, but they advance her beyond that, and that the significance of that is that the timeline that they're talking about right now in this movie is slightly ahead of the manga.
Well, I mean,
So,
this
like,
was made before the manga got to this point. I forgot when they actually get to this point, but like like in the manga, this entire movie, when where I was reading, where I stopped, it was sometime last year. But I think the movie had already come out way prior to that, so I wasn't even aware this was apparently happening in the manga. That's why when I found out that it was, I stopped myself. I suspect
I
that's.
find it interesting that it's canon based on that point, or at least.
I mean, from what I understand, the movies were supposed to. Well, these movies from here on out were supposed to be happening. Actually, I mean, with the whole aspect of canon, I want to bring up that later on. Like, I guess I'll just talk about it now. There's a
Can I
point.
mourn how bad? Can I mourn what a waste of the Cell character this is if it really is canon and this becomes it for Cell? They brought Broly back, and Broly was so much cooler than the original Broly. The original Broly was very popular. They brought Frieza back. Frieza was so much more compelling than the original Frieza. They bring Cell back, and he's just like a kaiju.
There's always a chance, and I don't know this for sure. There's always a chance that because like when Cell was originally defeated, it took several times of killing him to really really put him down. And like this one, like their first attempt was the entire movie of just trying to break his weak point. Like,
yeah, they're just like, guys, look, a magic weak point. Take that out, and the Cell's gonna be completely wiped out.
I honestly believe, because like I mean, with the way that fight ended,
it was so tension dropping though to have like a video game style weak point. You know, go for the giant.
Well, I mean, Hito said that he wasn't really complete, but Magenta didn't want to listen to him, and
all we needed was like a floating arrow over Cell's head or something that would complete the video game.
I mean, Hito put that in there just in case, like, Cell Max went rogue, but like I mean, it didn't really matter considering that Cell Max didn't have personality. I'm surprised he was able to make that.
Spot, like you've got to shoot a specific missile down a specific air shoot, and be able to like hit womp rats in the desert, like amount of skill to be able to do it like a Jedi would. He said like hit the guy on the top of the head really hard.
I mean, hitting villains really hard is half the show, though.
On the top of the head, as long as you hit him really hard on the top of the head, and it's weak enough where even like failed Trunks and Gohan, like Gotenks fusion, like will be significant.
I mean, like I said here, say it wasn't disappointing what they did to Max, but I mean, there's always a chance. Like, and I honestly believe maybe if there was a piece of him left, considering that he's supposed to have Piccolo's DNA. I think, funnily enough, I don't think that was supposed to be a part of Cell canonically.
I don't think there's any Cell involved in that giant thing.
I mean, you would. I mean, who knows? I mean, he rebuilt him from the schematics that Dr. Jiro left behind. So it's a possibility there's still some cells of them laying around in that, and wherever he got them from. Heck, that is a low-flying plane.
That's the other thing. Like, I mean, think of the depth of the plot hole there. Like, the way to kill Cell is to kill every single cell, and they did that, and now we have more cells.
I mean, when they hit him in the head and he blew up, there's no telling how many cells destroyed themselves on the impact.
I'm just saying that, like, he certainly lacked self-awareness.
You're just trying to why this long walk to that joke? Why this long walk to that joke? You couldn't
it's not about the journey, Game Hunter. It's about the friends we make along the way.
I don't think we made any friends. I think we lost just everything. I think you even lost your inheritance if you had any. That's how bad that walk was. Just gonna lay it out for you.
But they did lose self-awareness. Like the show is like not keeping track of itself.
After that, Pan ends up like running off across a couple islands. Like ironically,
it's like the most self-centered movie I've ever seen.
Are you done?
Yeah.
Are you sure?
No, but I'm gonna try to be done.
Dang it. Why like this? Pan ends up running away, running off.
You chose me.
Huh?
You chose me as a sidekick.
Did I?
You did. You said, "Would you like to come to this podcast specifically? Is 9:30 still good?"
Pan runs off to I guess either the preschool or a home. I think it's the home. After that, the next day, we see Piccolo meditating menacingly while on a floating piece of mountain. Videl calls him on a cell phone, which, by the way, didn't know Piccolo had one. Second of all, I find it funny that like Videl assumes that Piccolo likes all these fluffy items, these cat items, and he's got this like phone case of a fluffy cat, and the way he's holding it, it's like he's disdained by it. Yes. Every time, it's like he can't seem to hold this phone, and he's just very upset by it. He's upset by life.
You've got to give like the animator some. I mean, you've got to give the cell phone company some credit for him having like probably 5 bars out where he was to be able to maintain a video call.
That's also true. I wonder like what kind of bars is he getting out there?
It's advanced technology. In fact, it's the most advanced Android technology possible. It's called a cell phone.
I accidentally made that one for him, and I was trying to skip over it immediately if he couldn't hear me, and he actually grabs it right back. Says, "Nope, you're not getting away with that one. You're not getting away with that one."
And no, it's really good. And then he goes into the base and he gets really good cell reception.
Videl apparently asks Piccolo to pick up their daughter, which apparently is a common occurrence with the way they are talking. Videl goes asking Piccolo to run an errand for her. Based on that cat plushie collection, I think there was 9 of them. He's at least been asked to go pick her up 9 times.
Mm-hmm.
It's apparently enough to know. It's enough times to know when to know that he's picked her up enough times at that preschool that even the teacher knows him by face now. That was kind of funny.
It's also very disturbing because the Piccolo's was Gohan's father because Gohan was a crap father. Goku was a crap father. And now he's Gohan's, like, Pan's father because Gohan's being kind of a crap father. And it really is being kind of a crap father. Like, even though he gets really angry when he sees her threatened, like, and that's great and all, like, think about the lack of bond that Piccolo has with Gohan now. Like he goes to see him, and he's in a costume, and he scratches on the window to get his attention, and that's even how he got his attention when he wasn't in costume. And like he get early in the show, they show him scratch on the window when he's not in costume to say hi, and Gohan comes over, and then when he is in costume, he scratches on the window again, and he's not recognized, even though Pan's like, it's Piccolo, like when he first sees him completely in costume, and she's like, what, like low level, like low key, like sensing energy or something like that. And meanwhile, Gohan's so wrapped up with himself that he doesn't even sense that there's energy going on. Like he doesn't sense an energy thing happening, like right there in front of him, with the person that he should be probably closest with. When even Pan at that point has enough energy, understanding, and bond with Piccolo to be able to do it.
I was gonna say no. You probably recognize. He just didn't want to know. But I take that back. It was evident. No, I'm biting back what I just said. With the later on, it's actually quite evident that he didn't know it was Piccolo after he realizes Piccolo's there. After Piccolo takes off the suit.
Later on, he goads him into going Super Gohan Gray or whatever we want to call it because he pretends to threaten Pan. He goes, Pan, because that's what he sounds like. Pan, pretend.
I mean, no, that was the ultimate Gohan that he. It was Piccolo nearly dying or nearly getting his arm ripped off. Is what made Gohan go to that new form. I already had the name for it. I had to look it up because I was kind of curious what they were calling it, but I'll look to that later.
Pretend I'm a terrible man doing damage to you, so that Gohan will finally be motivated enough to save the entire flippin' world.
I like Piccolo's whole like.
Oh, Gohan, save me! Gohan, save me! And then Gohan's like dun 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 dun, and then he doesn't need anything, but like he gets really worked up.
I mean,
the big tall guy like goes up against the little tiny Gohan, and he's like, "I'm gonna get you, Bruto," and he's like, "Oh, I'm gonna get you," and then he like his arm gets really big and he punches him and he flies off.
I mean, as far as I know, Gohan spent a lot of time with her as she was a little baby. I'm trying to fight back on this whole Gohan being a terrible father thing, but I'm actually kind of seeing similarities. So it's just kind of weird and actually kind of upsetting. But maybe just saying they're just not. Maybe just saying males are just not like inclined to being with their kids. I guess I had no idea. I say that, and Vegeta's probably a better father about it. I'm not gonna get into that. But
Vegeta's like debatably the best Saiyan father we've seen so far, other than Vegeta, because Vegeta was a lot better of a father than Vegeta, I would say.
My brain just stopped working. What the heck did you just repeat Vegeta twice?
Vegeta's probably the only father better than Vegeta in Dragon Ball.
I'm not even gonna try to comprehend what you just said.
What is Vegeta's father's name?
You could have said King Vegeta. That would at least help to disseminate things.
I could have said Prince Vegeta.
That's also true.
MC Hammer stopped asking people to call him Hammers, like MC, and just to call him Hammer. So why would I apply that to anybody else? You don't say bus driver Bill. You say Bill.
I just find it easier to refer to his father as King Vegeta, so at least that way I know which people are like what I'm talking about. Where because characters having the same name really confuses me. I don't know why specifically for those two.
I'm gonna act really confused from now on unless you say Prince Vegeta every time you mean Prince Vegeta.
Why are you gonna be that guy? Why can't we just like enjoy nice things?
All right, fine.
But we were all over the place. I guess we already talked about like at some point Prince Pan gets kidnapped. Well, not really kidnapped, more like taken with Piccolo because Piccolo ends up. Actually, talk about this. Piccolo ends up in a fight with an android developed by Dr. Hito, and I guess the really important thing that happens here is Piccolo is unable to do any real damage to the android, but apparently this android's equipped with a hologram projector somewhere on his body that allows him to display superhero punching effects. And Piccolo comments on this as it's happening. I forgot the exact words that he said, but it was probably the funniest thing it's probably actually said by him this entire movie.
Amazon, their factoids had a comment about this, and they said that this is the first time since the Dragon Ball original series that those screens have come up, and that it's the only time it's ever come up in a fight. And I am inclined to agree that this is the only time it's ever come up in a fight. But I specifically remember in the Namek saga, I should say, those sound effects popping up a lot, like because there was one in particular, Bakoom, Bakoom, that I always thought was really funny, and it was specifically in either the Cell saga or the Namek saga. But the other interesting thing here is it's a callback to the earliest manga episodes of Dragon Ball, where the pardon me, I'm talking a little bit slow. In the earlier episodes of the Dragon Ball manga, the original Dragon Ball manga, they would sometimes break the fourth wall, and they would even go so far as to speak to Toriyama directly. Like the characters would directly address Toriyama sometimes in comic moments. So him doing that is actually a callback to some of the earliest Dragon Ball manga where they actually did things like that a little bit. I thought that was kind of interesting. And then while I've got the floor about this, the number on Piccolo's shirt that says 94 once he's going undercover, that's a reference to Dragon Ball manga episode 94, which is the one where Goku infiltrates the Red Ribbon Army.
Huh.
All things I thought were pretty cool.
Now, if I actually had the ability to check this, I would, but I'm not gonna do that. So yeah, like that's interesting. I never picked up on that. Mm-hmm. I thought it was weird that because I was wondering what number he was, but then he brought it up that his number. But I didn't think it was like, was that a reference to something? I didn't even think about that.
Yeah,
because they do throw references in there.
And I mean, they're really like starting to buy into MCU. Everybody's buying into the MCU style anyway. If there's a number anywhere in the MCU, you should look it up because it probably means something. Drivers' license plates, especially like in the MCU, are almost always a reference to a specific comic book that like is a parallel to that moment. But all sorts of there's almost no number in the MCU that you see anywhere that isn't a reference to something. And then the post-credit scene is also like obviously a trend started by the MCU and stuff like that as well.
We're already in the Piccolo infiltrating, but I want to back up a little. I think actually, Piccolo goes and starts looking for ways to get a little bit stronger. Well, get stronger to be able to deal with the androids, and he ends up flying to. Well, this is after he berates Gohan, but he ends up flying to the tower. Well, the floating tower. That I keep forgetting that Dende's up there. So whenever they bring up Dende, I'm like, oh, that's right. He is the god of this world now. Yeah. This is sad actually, because like I like Dende, but it's just like you don't think about Dende that much.
Well, for the most part, he's a peacetime character. Like a lot of his reign was like when the world was generally in peace.
Yeah, but it's just like I keep forgetting. I really wish that I don't, because I do like Dende. It's not like I don't forget because I don't like him. I just forget because they don't use him. Unfortunately, he's not a fighter, so I think that really just hurts a little bit.
I think they don't use Dende in a fight because he's such a plot conflict. Like, he's a complication for the plot. Like, sources of Dragon Balls have been Kami, who is now merged with Piccolo and doesn't make Dragon Balls anymore. Guru, who is dead and is not coming back because he died of old age. And the Super Dragon Ball thing that, like, you're not going to wish a single person back with that because it's way too powerful. And then the Black Star Dragon Balls, which are basically not canon, but even in theory, if you use it, then the whole planet's in peril of blowing up after you use it.
I want to actually fight back on that a little bit about the Black Star Dragon. I actually believe they exist, and the main reason why I do that is because a lot of people forget, as much as like GT has been rousted for being one of the worst shows that exists in Dragon Ball Z. Period.
I didn't
Uh,
mind GT
but
personally. I think it's the weakest Dragon Ball, but I didn't mind it personally.
I had my problems with it. But I think the Black Star Dragon
I did
Balls.
too. I had my problems with it, but I wasn't like, gosh, I wish I hadn't watched this.
I could fight that with my head because I mean, I enjoyed what I watched. I think I enjoyed the Black Star Dragon Ball arc more than I enjoyed anything else. But what I was gonna say with the Black Star Dragon Balls, I think the Black Star Dragon Balls are something that Akira wrote out in whatever outline he left people to make that show.
Yeah.
So I honestly would believe, this is just my belief, I think the Black Star Dragon Balls exist, but the reasoning for them being brought up is just doesn't, why would you bring that up? The only reason you probably would is to explain how Pilaf, Mai, and that dog character became young again. But I think to explain that with the normal Dragon Balls, because like the only reason why that would even come to be is because they wish Goku to be younger again, but we don't really deal with that era of Dragon Ball anymore. So them being brought up they would probably only do it if they were going to have a villain, maybe Frieza for whatever reason, because he's out there now. Maybe he could stumble upon them. Who knows?
Yeah.
That's the only time I would believe they would bring them back up. There's no real reason to bring the Black Star Dragon Balls into Dragon Ball Z. I think they exist.
I forgot the Namekian Dragon Balls too, but the Namekian Dragon Balls require a good amount of science to get to this year. Specifically Goku, who can teleport there. So the problem with Dende is that he's a big plot problem because A, he is the keeper of what is by far the most accessible Dragon Balls, and B, he's an endless bag of sensu beans. Like, as far as we could tell, he had no stamina issues healing. Like, it seemed like he could heal almost indefinitely.
I mean, one of the biggest parts of it, Dende is not a fighter. He doesn't come from the clan of the Namekians that have fighting potential.
Right, he's not a Dragon Clan, but he is an endless pile of sensu beans, which means he's extremely like. Also, I'm not positive I can say that Dende's type can't. They're not a warrior part of the race, but to say that they can't fight is debatable because Kami was a pretty powerful fighter.
Kami wasn't from that clan though. Kami, I think it was specific. Like Piccolo and Kami are a little bit weird because of like what they are together versus what they are apart. I think Piccolo and Kami are both from the same clan. I don't think Kami is from the clan that Dende is from. I don't think he's from
capable of making Dragon Balls.
What is Kami clan? Like, I don't think Kami's from the same clan as Dende. I could be completely wrong, and if I am, I will take that. But I thought they said that like his clan just couldn't. They don't have fighting potential. I thought that's what it was said.
Piccolo was a dragon for sure, but I'm not sure what Kami was. But he acts like he's the same clan as Guru the Elder and Dende. So, but he certainly has the ability to make Dragon Balls. But we're kind of getting off topic. The point is that Dende is an endless bag of sensu beans. And you can see how this movie feels about sensu beans. They got 2 and they dropped 1.
So
and the second one was just sort of a let's boost Gohan's stamina. Like it wasn't even like desperately needed. He dropped the first one and Piccolo was like, "Well, then you don't get one," and he storms off. He doesn't even pick up the damn sensu bean, even though it was like basically on the ground right there, and would have been not that hard to find. So like they were being very like derisive from a movie plotline perspective about sensu beans in the first place. So the last thing they want is somebody that can do healing that's unlimited enough that we don't know. We've never seen him fatigued healing somebody. But if he dies, the Dragon Balls go away, and then we've got to bring in the whole Namek planet or some other arc, you know what I mean, to bring it back, which you just don't have time for in something like this.
Okay, it seems like Dende, Piccolo, they're from the same clan. I think.
That's not true though, because Piccolo can't create Dragon Balls.
Technically speaking, no, you're wrong, because Kami and Piccolo are the same person.
They're 2 halves of the same person, but it's debatable. Well, let's talk about this. King Piccolo and Kami are the same person. But if this movie makes it crystal clear that Piccolo does not consider himself the same person as King Piccolo. He's derivative for sure, but he says multiple times in the beginning of this movie that he is not King Piccolo.
But according to this, at least the wiki I'm looking at right now, Piccolo is in the main members of the Dragon Clan. So is Dende, and King Piccolo is there. They do they do reference Piccolo and King Piccolo as two different entities.
But so Piccolo, King Piccolo, and Kami are all members of the Dragon Clan?
Yeah, Kami, King Piccolo, they're they're main members of the Dragon Clan.
Why didn't King Piccolo build Dragon Balls? Because he wasn't really in Namekian yet. That's the answer.
I mean, King Piccolo was created before Toriyama even knew he was trying to do with Piccolo, period. Right. So it's possible that Toriyama just forgot.
Because they were retconned. Because back then, Demon King Piccolo was a demon.
Well, here's the thing. I just look at the Dragon Clan, specifically how they're characterized. The Dragon Clan are a group of Namekians that are basic members of the race and specialize in mystic abilities such as creating mystical spheres. So it doesn't sound like even though you're a part of the clan, you're not necessarily gifted with the ability to make Dragon Balls.
Yeah, that makes sense. Because otherwise, King Piccolo could have just made some and used them.
Because I mean, they say that Dende was gifted with the ability to make them.
I wonder what King Piccolo's dragon would look like.
Honestly, this is where we kind of get into the whole of the Black Star Dragon Balls being in existence. Like, I honestly feel like maybe if they really wanted to like make it clear that maybe that he did make Dragon Balls, but maybe they still don't exist on Earth.
Well, then they would be gone right now because Demon King Piccolo is dead.
That is also true. Well, you say that, then it still exists in G. Never mind. We're not gonna get into that. We're getting off the topic.
Because it doesn't make sense because the regular Dragon Balls that Kami created went in there until Dende came back. So the Black Star Dragon Balls would go in there the same way that the regular. It would take another Namekian to restore them, which you could make a very complicated plot around. But first you'd have to find them, and they're scattered around the universe. So you'd have to find the dragon model that Demon King Piccolo had created, and then reactivate it, and have a Namekian willing to do that with an evil dragon for that to be a valid plotline. It would be interesting. And I guess we could do like Lord Slug's kid or something like that and have that happen. But we're really in the headcanon at that point. Or the fan fiction at that point.
I mean,
it would make a fantastic fan fiction. It would make a very interesting movie, especially as they're bringing back old characters to bring Lord Slug back. A version of Lord Slug back to do that. But I doubt it's going to happen. It's just very interesting now that we're talking about it.
I mean, while we're on the topic of Piccolo, because I mean, this is where I was kind of getting to. After he does this whole, he goes up to Kami's lookout. I guess he goes to Corrin first, I believe, to go get sensu beans. And they only have 2, which is weird. I'm noticing that Corrin's having less sensu beans now, even though when they need them. I'm noticing that's becoming a thing now.
What the hell happens to these things?
I have no idea. I'm
How
like,
do you have anywhere between 65 and 2, or 1 even when somebody comes by? Like, why don't you need them? Like, don't you need the beans to grow more?
Yajirobe's supposed to be the one growing them, and I don't know why he isn't. I don't know what Yajirobe is doing there anymore.
Farming, my dude. Like, let's make a few hundred of them and have him on hand at any point. You know.
Unless Yajirobe's eating them, it's possible that Yajirobe's eating them because they do fill you up.
Yajirobe needs to get kicked off the top at that point.
Hey, I mean,
do you mind if I run really fast and grab a glass of water?
Sure.
Okay, we're talking like 35 seconds. Intermission me just for a sec, okay?
All right.
Listen, I'll give you a topic to talk about. All right. Rhode Island is neither a road nor an island.
I'm sorry. I think you just walked off with a haiku. I don't know what's going on anymore. We are like now at 10:37. We haven't even gotten to the main meat and potatoes of this movie yet. As he's doing that, I guess I can say that this is a little bit of intermission here. I can say that we are taking a break, like from doing weekly podcasts for at least 2 months at this point. With this being the one podcast for the month of June, we'll have another podcast coming in July because we're going to be reviewing the My Hero Academia movie that's been out for I think 2 years now. So we're reviewing this because we've been really looking forward to Dragon Ball Superhero. So we're reviewing this first. If anybody's here for My Hero Academia reviews, we'll have one review coming at you next month. Is he back?
I'm back.
Oh.
My apologies.
No problem. I would just clarifying what the plan is for the podcast here.
I suddenly started not feeling so great, and I just wanted a glass of water.
Okay. We'll start, like, I guess, going forward with the main stuff of this. I wanted to bring up Dende really just for the fact that, like, Piccolo, again with this movie deciding to redraw scenes from Dragon Ball Z, Piccolo remembers that that Dende, not Dende, but Guru, well, Dende took Gohan and Krillin to Guru when Guru was still alive to awaken their hidden potential. Essentially, he essentially goes to Dende asking if Dende could do this. Apparently, Dende can't. But then Dende brings the fact that the dragon could do it. So they gather the Dragon Balls. But before they do that, they have a little argument with Bulma, who's apparently altruistically gathering Dragon Balls so that way no evil person can get their hands on them. But it's also altruistically using them to do some cheap cosmetic surgery to herself. Apparently she's been expanding her butt a bit, apparently, and longer eyelashes. She's been doing a lot, so I'm guessing this is how she's staying young looking, is how they're explaining it. I think it's the only reason they would bring that up.
She used the dragons to keep them melon swelling, you know?
Oh dear. But I think that's how they're explaining how she's staying younger younger and longer. But I think it's the only real reason to bring it up, other besides the gag that she's wasting.
I love it that she could give a crap about looking old. She's like, I'm just want Kyoko to train.
I just think Chi-Chi, like, she's doing her own like little cosmetic surgery on the side because she's at home all alone anyway. And she doesn't really care because Goku isn't there. That makes sense too. But
oh my gosh. Goku doesn't care what she looks like. She's pure heart. She can ride the Nimbus.
Can she still ride the Nimbus?
I mean, I don't know if she can still ride the Nimbus. Nobody's ridden the Nimbus in kind of a while, but like, she rode the Nimbus and she hasn't done anything.
Well, Goten can ride it. I know this because in the manga he rides it.
Yeah. What I mean is, like, she hasn't done anything to like not deserve to ride the Nimbus. She's aggressive, but I mean, one could say many of the characters in this are aggressive.
Well, I mean, Goku has mentioned he likes aggressive women. That this is something he's actually said. He's even had this conversation with Vegeta. they've said this, and I don't know where we can get the actual audio he said this, but there's audio where he says this. So
Goku's just afraid of Chi-Chi in general. Goku's afraid of Chi-Chi in general.
There are moments when he's not afraid of her, and then there's moments he are. He's only really afraid of her when she's yelling. I noticed. Other than that, it's nothing. He's not really afraid of her.
Yeah, he needs like maybe some meds for social anxiety.
He needs pills for Chi-Chi anxiety. But moving on. Essentially, Piccolo asks Bulma to gather the Dragon Ball so he can awaken his latent power, and we get another moment of funny Shenron, or Shenron being a character, which is also weird and really cool that they're doing this. I kind of wish that they did more of this, because I think they did a little bit in Dragon Ball Z, but it wasn't like Shenron was a character, just more like I'm a summoned god doing his job. But like he's like, oh, it's King Piccolo, how you doing? He's like, hey, can you awaken my latent power? Okie dokie. And he says there wasn't much to begin with.
Yeah.
which was kind of messed up, but I mean what can you do? He wakens Piccolo's latent power, and then Piccolo goes and invades the Red Ribbon Army, which he finds out where they are after falling and Gamma, which is the android he fought, Gamma 2 specifically, to his hideout. Gamma is apparently really bad at realizing that there's somebody following him. But
Mhm.
since he goes there, they learn of the plan. Piccolo learns of Cell Max, and this is when Piccolo pretty much realizes that he needs Gohan's help because Vegeta and Goku aren't coming because apparently they're up on Whis' planet, fighting each other. I guess I should bring this up too. They explain Goku and Vegeta not being there by Whis not picking up his staff whenever Bulma's calling him. Because Whis is apparently eating ice cream along with Whis. Another little bit going on, like this stuff actually happening on Whis on the planet that Whis and Beerus are on. Besides the fighting, apparently Goku's trying to teach Broly how to not snap when fighting, which I guess is kind of cool. The green skin girl that he's with is there too. Apparently Beerus has a crush on her. That was kind of weird, but whatever. Then also that little other alien guy that they're with, apparently he can cook. So apparently Beerus has hired him to make his meals now.
I found it fairly, or forced him. I found it fairly amusing that his planet is becoming very King Kai's planet like.
Oh, I hope it doesn't become too King Kai like, because we know what happened to King Kai's planet.
I mean, why not? Like they've already had to tell them no planet destroying attacks.
That was just for that particular session. I mean, after that, like I'm pretty sure they're free to use planet destroying attacks.
Well, would you really want to? Would you really want them doing planet destroying attacks? I mean, I'm sure they can destroy the planet.
I don't think I want them to. I'm just saying that. I mean, like at this point, I'm pretty sure they're allowed to after their little training session. I guess it's the fourth time that Vegeta and Goku are fought by this point. I think this is the fourth time they fought. I mean, that's neither here nor there. I guess we can go back to Planet Earth, where the movie is pretty much mainly based. But that's how they explain Goku and Vegeta not being there. I guess that's an okay way to explain it. I mean, really? I mean, I guess, like, do we really need Goku and Vegeta to always be there to save the planet? Probably yes, on some occasions, but...
Yes, we do. I found it weird that they were like... I found it weird that they were basically saying, like, you know, oh, we might not have won even if Goku and Vegeta were here. I'm like, are you crapping me?
Well, I don't think Piccolo... This is the thing. Here's the other thing about this movie where it's placed. There's a whole nother arc in between this one and the end of the Tournament of Power. Piccolo was not there for it, so he doesn't know what Goku... At this point, he doesn't know what Goku's been doing, or Vegeta. He only knows that Goku can't go into Ultra Instinct at this moment. He doesn't know He doesn't know that Goku has been able to enter a certain hybrid mode of Ultra Instinct. Yeah, actually, I guess you don't know that either. Oops, sorry.
That's okay. I only partially heard what you said. I was about to say what?
There's an entire arc in between this one and the Tournament of Power that happens in the manga. They don't animate this. They don't even put it in a movie. I don't know why they did superhero first. They should have done that particular, because that right there, so much freaking happens with Goku and Vegeta. It's ridiculous.
Really?
Yeah, it's like, it's really cool. It kind of fleshes out Goku's character a little bit more. I didn't think he needed it, but it's cool. It fleshes out Bardock a little bit too. People don't like it, Bardock's little character, but whatever. You know, people can suck an egg.
Wow.
But it like...
Somebody just got very aggressive.
If it just like it fleshes out Vegeta too, it does a lot for those two characters. Which honestly, this movie probably does a lot more for you if you read that part. Unfortunately, I don't know if we'll ever get any more anime, so you might not even know what happens in this little space, because it is a space. So Piccolo doesn't know any of that though. Piccolo wasn't there for it. That I remember. No, I don't think
Okay.
Piccolo shows up for it. So like Piccolo doesn't know exactly what Goku and Vegeta are capable of right now. So his assumption that they probably wouldn't be able to, they wouldn't be enough is only false because he doesn't know how much training they've been doing. So I also find it interesting. Well, I'm not gonna say. I would say there's something interesting about what Vegeta says about his training that I find kind of intriguing. But based on his character design, I don't know why it isn't there, and I'm very confused at at why his wording was done that way. But it's something about what happens with him in the arc that happens prior to this. So like currently it doesn't happen in this timeline. So
So the audience
either
wants
they're
you to spoil this,
switching.
but I don't know if the audience wants you to spoil anything, but I'm going to go out on a limb and say I don't care if you spoil it for me.
I'm not gonna say too much other than just like after the tournament of power, Jacko ends up being involved in a galactic criminal wrangling. There's a really powerful guy named Moro, and Goku ends up having to fight. Goku and Vegeta end up being recruited into the intergalactic police to help Jacko get him back into jail. We learned a little bit of Goku learning Ultra Instinct Imperfect, I think is what they're calling it. Um,
Okay.
he learns how to do that from Whis. But
Imperfect instinct, so like pretty good instinct.
the Vegeta at the very beginning, Vegeta's trying to learn how to move, act about thinking. Unfortunately, he fails at it. I mean, who saw that coming? Uh, but he ends up getting talking to by Beerus, and Beerus says that instead of trying to learn from Whis, basically is what he says, instead of trying to learn from Whis, how about you want to learn from me? Uh, this in turn leads into another form for Vegeta. I'm not gonna say what it is, but it's a form for Vegeta that Vegeta is like it's kind of better suited for Vegeta. So Vegeta gets his own ascension in his own way, and it's a really cool ascension. Like it's not based on like him trying to catch up with Kakarot. It's his own thing that Kakarot can't do. So like they both got their own little in-game form that neither one of them can copy.
Right.
So like, he ascends in his own way, which is kind of cool. But that's essentially basically there's a line that Vegeta says about his training that just kind of really weirded me out a little bit. It's like, huh, because I don't see the earring that Vegeta gets during that. So it's like it's not there as far as I can see. So either one or two things happen is that Vegeta never trained, which by the way means that I don't think Moral even showed up. So like I don't think that stuff even happened in the timeline of the anime. Which is basically what I'm pretty sure is happening. So maybe Goku doesn't have the training yet for Ultra Instinct. Maybe he does. I have no idea. But it's really weird just because like if they're not doing that, if they're not showing that, that means it doesn't really exist in the anime canon.
It's not in our records.
So it's like it's really weird. But I mean, whatever. It is what it is. Because this happens after all that anyway, in the manga anyway.
Right.
I think the manga and anime are two separate entities now. I think they're just doing their own thing when they want. But
I
yeah.
think my understanding about the manga and the anime is that they have sort of like concurrent canons. That they're both considered canon, but like sort of like parallel things where they're not like necessarily following each other. Basically, what happened is Toriyama created a loose plot line and handed it to both of them, and that plot line that he created is the canon. And then these two, both the manga and the anime, are based off that plot line, but they were made at the same time.
I mean, that's the case. I prefer the manga more because it does a lot more. I don't even know like how long any of this movie takes in the manga. And I'm probably after we finish reviewing this, I'm probably like just sit through and read it to see like what happened and didn't happen.
Yeah.
Just to know exactly. I wish I'd done that beforehand so I could really say or not say what's going on here. But I mean, honestly, from what I can tell, even saying out loud, it sounds like the moral stuff never even happened. Jocko never recruited Goku and Vegeta to do anything, so it's possible that Goku never even obtained that new form yet. And
Yeah.
Vegeta never talked to Beerus, so it's possible that none of that stuff happened. And I guess it's fine because they're not even there in the plot line of the movie anyway. So I guess it is what it is.
Yeah.
But with forms, after all that, you know, he recruits. He essentially what Spear said, what you couldn't hear. A very loose plot line of explanations is that Piccolo ends up going to trick Gohan into joining the fight by pretending that he stole his daughter, which actually works, which is funny that it worked, but it worked. And it gets Gohan to follow the Rebel Army to their little army base so they can eliminate Gohan, because the Rebel Army has a list of people that they deem are a concern. Gohan is one of them. So like they end up having it's like, is it, who is Gohan fighting? I completely forgot. Is it Gamma 1? Yeah, it's Gamma 1. Gohan ends up fighting Gamma 1, and Gamma 2 is watching, while Piccolo in a disguise is also watching, trying to, as Spear said eloquently, go Gohan into getting stronger. Like all this is happening, essentially Piccolo joins the fight. I'm skipping out a lot, but a lot of the major plot points that are happening we can discuss here is Gohan's fight versus Gamma 1. Piccolo joins the fight and is having his second fight with Gamma 2, and we see Piccolo's new form, which is him turning orange.
Yeah. So Halloween Piccolo.
Well, I mean, he called it Orange Piccolo.
Piccolo?
Oh,
What
dear
would you
no.
call him?
I mean, Piccolo called him Orange Piccolo. That's what he called himself. If you had to call his form, he called it
I
Orange
don't
Piccolo.
need a good name.
But
I just want
there's
you
also
to call me Orange Piccolo.
while actually Piccolo's fighting in his orange state, he ends up getting in a situation where he almost ends up dying, but he ends up awakening even further power. And this kind of, we see the flashback of Shinra saying he only was able to release, like, he only had a little bit extra, in which Piccolo actually grows a little bit in size. And I want to bring this up too, because you didn't bring this up, but this state of Piccolo looked like Lord Slug. Yeah, if you actually look at him, he looks a lot like Slug.
Which could be interesting. It could imply that Slug had a transformation already that he was in, or that Slug's form is like a more powerful version and all that stuff as well. I'm not really sure. I know that they're doing a lot of throwback things in general. I know that the Ultimate Cell, or whatever, is it called Ultimate Cell? Is that what we have right here?
You know the Cell in this movie?
Yeah.
Cell Max.
Cell Max, I'm sorry. I have a different point to make, but can I just make the point that sounds like an athletic product?
I think you just made the point. I can't stop you from making the point.
If you'd been working out for a long time and you wanted to rehydrate, wouldn't you grab some Cell Max? Anyway, so the point was that, like, you have this like throwback of Cell Max that's actually designed around Imperfect Cell. Imperfect Cell's like visual design anyway. And then you have the Piccolo here that's sort of like, I mean, let's admit, like, this is a very derivative anime. There's a lot of stuff in this movie that is derivative of other things. I mean, even Ultimate Gohan's form, like, doesn't look that different, you know what I mean, than some of the Ultimate Ultra Instinct forms. So what we're working with here is basically like, it's a really good observation that it's Slug, because it probably was meant to look like Slug. In the same way that Cell Max was supposed to look like Imperfect Cell.
I just thought it was interesting. I also want to point out, this is the only time Piccolo had a transformation. This is actually kind of brought up a lot, actually.
It's not the only time he's had a transformation. It's the only time he's had a good transformation. He's been able to change his size before. which
Well, I mean a
is not
form transformation. How about that? How about like a form like
changing his size so that he's huge is like
I consider that ability,
not
not a
that
form.
different than when Trunks did it, but his size was too bulky to be worthwhile. Piccolo's also been able to change his size in other ways too, though, like elongating his arms, for example, or ripping out his ears.
I consider his ability to grow big is an ability, and that's like really a transformation. That's how I always looked at it. I know it's actually canonized as a transformation. I don't know if I don't know if I agree with that sentiment. But
I think I understand. I think the difference that you're thinking of here is that if it's a transformation, why does his power level not change? Because all transformations we've seen have implied like a change in power level, except for Ultra Instinct, where the power level didn't change. The first Ultra Instinct, his power level didn't change. He just got really good at fighting.
I must say I think his power level changed. I think. I mean, nothing really said that. It's just talking about his ability to dodge. But
he wasn't. I don't know. His power changed because he absorbed the Spirit Bomb, not because he had any additional power. He absorbed the Spirit Bomb, which kick-started his Ultra Instinct. But when the energy that he took from the Spirit Bomb went away, his power was no longer valuable. So I don't know. It's up for debate, I think, at least whether or not his power changed for that.
I mean, Goku can still go into it. I mean, in the manga, he's able to transform into Ultra Instinct. It's like not, so he doesn't need to be hit with a Spirit Bomb at the same time. But not that it really matters here because when I'm talking about the manga, this is an entirely different timeline of events. But yeah, it's kind of cool that Piccolo gets like a form change. I'm guessing maybe this is like one of those situations where like it's just like Piccolo's a really rare Namekian. I mean, it's already been stated that Piccolo's a rare Namekian regardless. So like this is one of those situations where like it's like Slug was also a rare Namekian. You know, it's just that he had the ability. I mean, like Shinra always said it wasn't a lot to unlock anyway. That was a big middle finger, I would say, to Piccolo. That was like the biggest middle finger to Piccolo I've ever seen. I mean, I know Piccolo doesn't get treated all that well. You've already stated your disdain for it, but like, I feel like that right there was like, geez.
I'm sorry. Which part was where he wasn't treated well?
No, I'm just saying that like when Shinron unlocked a little bit of the little bit that Piccolo had, I feel like to me that was probably the biggest middle finger to Piccolo I think I've ever seen in the entire show. Oh, yeah. I understand that Piccolo's gotten treated like complete garbage a lot. But I feel like that right there was the biggest middle finger I've ever seen given to Piccolo.
And then Shenron sort of takes pity on him. Is like, plus a little more. This is the first time Shenron's ever gone beyond like the wish, and he's like, "I'll give you a little bit extra. Like, you're probably going to be disappointed with how much power I unlocked."
I mean, I still think it was really pretty good. Now, honestly, I'm going to sit there and say this much. I don't know how you feel about this statement, but I'm just going to say it. I had time to think about this. This right here, to me, Piccolo's potential being unlocked, because Piccolo was able to fight second stage Frieza almost on par, it actually forced Frieza to go to stage 3. A part of me believes that this might have been enough to actually push him to the level to be able to at least maybe fight on par with final form. I could be completely wrong about that, but like, I feel like to me it was like, if only Piccolo had been there before Guru had died, maybe we could have seen this.
The series likes to keep Piccolo just useful enough to be like a team player.
Like, I just feel like to me, because I mean, even like, I like to take a step back too. I mean, Piccolo had a transformation kind of when he combined with Kami, but even that wasn't really a real form change. It just increases power level back to where it initially was before the split, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
So, no, I take that back, because Piccolo had been training before that point and raised his power level, so it raised it, it gave his original power back to raise his current level. So it was kind of a transformation, kind of. Piccolo kind of changed it a little bit. He got more refined, I would say. The way he looked, and it was called a Super Namekian, so it was like, okay, maybe it was one of the situations where they don't know what the heck a Super Namekian looks like, so they just call anything super because they can, or like the whole Saiyan thing. But I mean, it's cool that he got a transformation. This, as far as I know, this didn't happen in the manga yet. So I mean, I don't know where they are in the manga right now. So this like whole form will eventually become canon in the manga. But at least I think it will. Who knows? It was pretty cool that I like that. Like, you know, I didn't see this form before. I only saw the orange one with the smaller orange form. I never saw the big orange form. So it was like, that was kind of cool. He even got like a little bit of like a circle on the back of his gi that looked like the tree that was from the planet Namek. So it's almost like he was drawing his power from the planet that was there. Well, that used to be there. So that's kind of cool. I mean, it was cool that they gave Piccolo, and he's able to fight a little bit longer. Even realizing though, you say they keep Piccolo useful just enough. I like how they brought up that Piccolo can change in size, and Piccolo forgot about it. It was canon that he completely forgot he could do that.
Oh yeah.
I'm just like, are you kidding me right now? They took that from Dragon Ball's Abridged.
Thanks, bro.
He forgot that he could grow in size. I know that's kind of lame though that the size doesn't increase his power, but I guess that's more of like a nerf to keep his power level in check. I don't know why. Makes you wonder. Toriyama says Piccolo's his favorite character, yet they do things like this to him.
Mm-hmm.
But with that, he's in this fight with Gamma 2. Essentially, as this fight's happening, the information gets leaked that apparently that Hito's being tricked and by the Red Ribbon Army, and Hito at first doesn't believe it, but then his I think Gamma 2, after Gamma 2 gets decked by Piccolo in his new form, he realizes that, oh, that's right, I'm fighting on the wrong side apparently, because I was able to get all this information while I was fighting. This causes Magenta to freak out, go run into the building to awaken Cell Max. Hito goes in there to stop him. Hito reveals that he's got his own superhero suit. Magenta realizes that he's been doing modifications on his body. Hito's little bee buddy, who we completely forgot to actually talk about at the very beginning of the movie, comes back and stings him and pretty much slowly kills him. But before he dies completely, he ends up waking Cell Max from his sleep. Then Magenta dies, and pretty much Hito is running for his life as Cell Max is, you know, tearing up the facility underneath. Jumps up from underneath the base, and now we have a situation where we have Orange Piccolo and Gohan in Mystic form fighting Cell Max. I guess another thing too. I think I read this somewhere. I still kind of find it annoying, and I don't know how you feel about it. Gohan's eyesight improving when he's a Super Saiyan.
I think they just do that as a joke, as a nod to the community. I bet the community's been criticizing that for a really long time, and they're like, okay, we're gonna like make a little fun of ourselves here.
But no, I mean, Gohan said he doesn't have really good eyesight about his eyeglasses. He actually said this. I don't think this is a joke. I think his eyesight is... Okay, we're back. I do not know what happened there, folks. I am so sorry.
I didn't actually get to leave, so we're good. I didn't actually leave, so we're good.
Okay, so continue what you're saying before we get really interrupted by my internet. I apologize again.
I said I did really enjoy the part where and enjoy with my tongue in my cheek, and the part where he loses the sensu bean, and then he's like, go. Like, they're like, take care of Pan, and she's like, I'm on it. But like, she totally could have also grabbed the sensu bean, the life-saving virtuous, miraculous magic sensu bean that is like completely irreplaceable. Why don't they just wish for 1,000,000 sensu beans?
You know, I don't know. I mean, they kind of bring it up that, like, why didn't they just wish Goku and Vegeta down on the planet?
Bulma, you're gonna have to hold off on like a quarter-inch off your eye, like a quarter of a millimeter on your eyelashes for a couple of minutes. We're gonna get a bag of 1,000,000 sensu beans, please.
But
As long as we're making petty wishes.
Jesus. Wow, that was a call out. But with that, well, yeah, when Cell Max comes out and he just starts rummaging around, causing mass panic. Piccolo, like, Gohan's already tired of his fight with Gamma One. Piccolo, Piccolo's involving himself with Cell Max. He grows to
Did you notice how like much Gamma One had like was owning Gohan too? Like Gohan's really tired and wiped out, and Gamma Max is like, I'm at 82% of my power, and he's like, what? Like the fuck? And like,
I mean, Gohan's out of practice though. I mean, Gohan, owns this later on in the movie. That he's out of practice.
He's way out of practice. Like he can't sense Piccolo's energy. He needs his glasses to see like badly to the point where he can't catch a sensu bean. He like even like the color of his hair when he changes to be like sort of like a gray, because everywhere else in here gray represents a lack of life. Like when the android gets beat, number one or number two that gets beat? Either way, like I think it's regardless of the one it is, I think it's number one that gets beaten. When he dies and gets lifeless, he turns gray, and that's the color that his hair turns to. Gohan's hair turns to is like that gray, almost like implying that like he's sort of not all in here, you know. And I just thought that was super interesting that like his color was almost like symbolic, like emblematic of how half-hearted he feels about things right now.
I don't think that's really what they're doing with Gohan's hair. They just, Akira has mentioned that he's wanted to do transformations of other hair colors before. I don't think Gohan's hair being gray in beast mode is what's supposed to, is what that's supposed to mean.
But we've already done gray.
No, we haven't.
Yeah, we did with Tournament of Power. Like this first Ultra Instinct is gray, and then it turns white after that. But the first one is gray before you ascend with Ultra Instinct.
I thought that was silver.
Well, it's close enough. And then we have I don't know, even like the scene where like Krillin through the whole thing, he's holding back, like he's playing it safe.
I mean, beast mode, which is what that form is called. I mean, I'm just saying what beast mode for what that form is called. That's just like Gohan snapping and unleashing his true power, the power that apparently he's been hiding. Apparently.
Very well. So even with Krillin like through the whole thing is playing it safe, and he's playing like basically catcher in the background, catching people, like getting people out of trouble and stuff like that, but not actually participating. He's the last one to join in the fight, and when he does join in the fight, you see him take his gray helmet off and like become Piccolo, you know, I mean, and become someone that's fighting. And when the kids fuse, they become someone with black and gray hair. Gray just seems like a power down. I mean, it's supposed to be purple, but it looks very gray in the episode, or violet, I guess, but it's very gray. But you just notice like a lot of the things in this that are supposed to be like a lot of the times in this when you're like looking for a weak point, it's gray. Like Cell's head, the weak point in Cell's head is gray. Like there's just a lot of that sense that gray, like half-heartedness, like not going all the way, is gray. So I don't know. I saw something in that. I mean, it could be nothing for sure, but every time that there's something like that gets played down, it turns gray. Like, you know what I mean? So it's just interesting. The city that I think, don't they start in a city, and by the time they're done, it's just an ashen wasteland? Like that fight started in a city, didn't it?
I mean, it started in their base.
Oh, well, still. A civilized area that ends in an ashen like an ashen wasteland. But it seems like there's sort of a loose symbolism here between the colors gray and, you know, ash colors, and even almost sort of violet, that like seem to be connected with like weakness. The other android gets weak towards the end, and you see him kind of dulling out his colors a little too.
So I'm just looking at like information on Gohan's new form. I guess that's relating to that. Like, I mean, Piccolo essentially is trying to like get Gohan to unleash his, I guess, his ultimate power beyond ultimate. And I mean, Gohan has brought up that he wanted to, you know, gain his own new form beyond being a Saiyan. I'm guessing this is what it is, because I mean, Toriyama calls this thing Beast, like Gohan Beast.
Yeah.
Is the official name. He was gonna call it Final Gohan, but apparently he went with Gohan Beast. I almost feel like he should have gone Final Gohan, but whatever. This, I mean, we'll talk about callbacks. This form is entirely just like an aged up Teen Gohan Super Saiyan 2 transformation. The hair is ridiculously big. He looks increasingly mean. His eyes are red.
Yeah.
Apparently, they're comparing this form to Super Saiyan 4.
But instead of like radiating golden energy, he's just sort of gray.
Okay, you don't like the gray. What would you have preferred? I'm guessing. I mean, honestly, what would you have preferred his hair turning color? What color would you have preferred his hair to go?
We're out of colors. What are we gonna do? Like, we're out of colors at this point. I think purple's the only... No, we've used purple sort of with Rose. We're out of colors except for purple. We've used every color. They're all gone. But doesn't that make another point, like that the human Mystic Gohan could have had something else that indicated that his power was strong? You'll also notice when Cell gets beaten up, he turns gray too. Like his arm falls off and is gray. His skin is ripped off, and you see a gray interior underneath it. Gray in this series, I'm positive, is weakness.
My thing is like, what other color would you want his hair to turn into?
Indigo.
There's very images of Gohan's like hair, and it's like it's not always gray. I'm noticing
his hair could have just disappeared off the visible spectrum.
I'm seeing different images of Gohan's hair, and it's like it's not always gray. I'm noticing.
Okay.
For whatever reason, I'm seeing purple, blue, and everything else. I mean, I know these cards and everything like that, but it's like the energy around him is like, it's like almost purple, almost. So the energy, his aura, the aura that's around him seems purple, and I guess they couldn't get away with his hair being purple.
Yeah. What I meant was purple's the only color left. I said indigo because it's not in the visible spectrum. Indigo would have meant that his hair just becomes invisible.
This actually reminds me of that. I'm not sure if you've seen this image floating around the internet when it was...
What is that?
When Dragonball AF was a thing. But
right after Piccolo turns gigantic, he picks up a giant pole and hits them with it. What is that giant red pole?
I don't remember this.
I wondered for a minute if it was like... I didn't know what it was, let me put it that way. For a minute, I wondered if it was like the power pole or something, because it kind of looked like it. But it couldn't possibly be the power pole, but he just sort of gets a big red pole, as far as I can tell, from out of nowhere, and like hits him with it, but I couldn't figure out what the pole was or where he got it from. And I'm watching it again right now, and I don't remember a pole. But he just sort of finds a red pole among all this dust and blasted out stuff, and is able to hit him with it. Also, why does Cell's feet have cleats?
Mm-hmm. he was golfing before he came here. What you want from him?
Cool. No, that's cool. I mean, he probably got the newest Nike Airs or something. I don't know.
Oh, his eyebrows are white? What the heck? They're just going with all the colors in this transformation. Oh yeah, they are white. Wow, they really went with all kinds of like. I guess when Gohan wanted his own transformation, he got it. Can't really deny that. He red eyes, white eyebrows.
You could tell that like they were running out of transformations when he goes like Vegeta goes Vegeta bluer.
I mean, Vegeta gets his own little kickback later. But
Honestly, the most original transformation that we've seen, and we really haven't seen that original of a transformation since, was Super Saiyan 4. And this one has a little bit, the eyes at least have a little bit of a throwback to Super Saiyan 4. But that's it. No tail, no anything else. Just big spiky, over spiky hair.
I mean, it's just an older version of Super Saiyan 2 transformation. Essentially, he just got back his power level, apparently, because, I mean, I guess this is also a callback to that whole moment that Vegeta, back in the Majin Buu saga, says that, and at the time it didn't make any sense to me either, and it still doesn't make any sense to me. Apparently, between Cell Saga and the start of the Great Saiyaman thing, his power level, like, got cut in half or something like that. He took a significant power down, apparently. It was significant enough that Vegeta could recognize it. So it was
I think it was just based on personality. I liked the Cell's version of the Frieza planet destruction attack. Do you remember that? When he does the thing that like jumps up in size 3 times, and then he shrinks it down to like condense it, and inside of it is almost like, what is that? Not Jeroba. What is the guy's name? From one of the movies, the villain from one of the movies. Jeroma. Janemba. It almost looks like the sparkle attack that they used to kill Janemba in the center of like Frieza's planet destruction attack. That looks like the big attack that like Cell was trying to unleash when Piccolo comes in and assists, and then they end up blowing up his head. Which is probably why this is the only PG-13 rated Dragon Ball, that and the blood.
There was blood in this movie. I mean, I guess I want to bring
this is the first one with blood in a long time, and this is the only Dragon Ball movie to have a PG-13 rating so far. I'm guessing part of it had something to do with the fact that they like blow his head off at the end.
I guess speaking of that, I thought it was kind of cool. I guess we'll lead up to this because it's the end of the movie. As they're fighting, apparently after Gohan unlocks beast mode, he essentially sits there and charges. He essentially steals Piccolo's attack, and I freaked out when I saw that. And I freaked out specifically because this has been a question that I've wondered. I forgot when I started wondering it, and it's probably because you brought it up to my attention. But I was wondering for the longest time, can Gohan use special beam cannon? Because like, I mean, Piccolo is technically his master. It's Piccolo's best attack, his ultimate attack. It would make sense that somebody would have gotten it before Piccolo passes. And
it's kind of lame because Piccolo says, "How did you get that attack?" And he goes, "I've been practicing in private." No, you haven't been practicing, bitch. If you have, that's the only thing you've been working on.
He probably has been practicing. I mean, like this. Like, I mean, Gohan before the tournament.
Piccolo's energy when he's scratching on the window. Golly,
I mean, just because you like, I mean, just because you're learning how to do an attack doesn't mean you're practicing your sensing ability.
Right. That's why I said if he has been practicing, that's the only thing he's been practicing.
I thought it was freaking really cool. I honestly, after that, I honestly, it came to my attention that I was like, I feel like this is just Akira trying to make up, or whoever it is trying to make up for the crap they pulled on Gohan after the Cell Saga. I've hated everything they've done to Gohan, like from the Saiyaman all the way up until his main fight with Majin Buu, well, Kid Buu, I should say. No, Majin Buu. I hated everything they did to him, and that was a really cool situation. Ultimate Gohan was really cool, the build up. I enjoyed everything about that. After that, I hated everything about Gohan, starting with Dragon Ball Super all the way up until Tournament of Power. To me, it was like, I understand Gohan doesn't want to be a fighter, but why is he being treated like garbage? Like, he is literally being treated, he's the only Saiyan they treat like this, other than Vegeta. And Vegeta's gotten more respect recently. It's like they literally needed to have a Saiyan treated like garbage. To me, this entire movie, with all its issues, it was like probably an apology to all the Gohan fans, because I'm pretty sure he's well aware of the American fans, because nobody likes Gohan in Japan. Apparently, the Gohan fans that exist are the ones over here in America. And I suspect it's the people who grew up with Gohan when they were watching the show as kids. I suspect, but it just like I feel like this has gotta be an apology. Though I say this, they're gonna treat him like garbage again. I'm not stupid enough to believe that he's like they're gonna improve. It just like everything leading to the point, then Gohan using special beam cannon was like, I enjoyed that movie, and I enjoyed that scene so much more than I probably should have, but I enjoyed it nonetheless.
Yeah.
I thought it was really cool. It was like, oh, cool, he's got the special beam cannon, and apparently Piccolo didn't teach it to him. This just kind of confirms the whole Saiyans can pick up moves just from looking at it. Because, like, I mean, for crying out loud, like, geez, like, I mean, it takes Piccolo ages to build the energy for it, and only Gohan can do. I guess the other thing too. Look at the bright side. Apparently, Gohan can only do it when he's in beast mode. At this point, so it's like, hey, he probably can't use it any other time. So it's not the Kamehameha where he can just use it in base mode. So there's that. I mean, his special beam cannon is still unique. At least until Pan picks it up, probably. That'd be funny if actually Pan used the special beam cannon. The movie pretty much ends after they just decimated Cellmax, and with that injury in his head. The movie cuts to the credits, and then essentially we round off the movie with we come back to the planet that Lisa's on, and we find out that we find them still fighting, and pretty much Vegeta wins the fight out of exhaustion, and Vegeta's like, I won, and he's just laughing because he won something for once. But but I thought it was kind of funny that, okay, so he won. I mean, this is his he's finally won against Goku, and I guess Vegeta is just grasping at straws, like, I'll win, I'll take whatever win I can get at this point. But that was
pretty fair and square victory, but it was like pretty much the only one.
I think he just take anything he can get. But at the end of the movie, I will watch the movie again. I fairly enjoyed it. I'll probably give it an 8 out of 10. It was like, to me, it was a good movie across the board.
I go 7. I wasn't quite into it as much as you were, and which was, I think part of it is I'm so disappointed because Piccolo is my favorite character, and I think that the Garlic Jr. saga is one of my favorite of the sagas, and I know that I'm like the only one that feels that way about it. So this felt Garlic Jr. saga because Piccolo and Vegeta and Goku weren't in it at all. So I was really excited to see, like, I'm like, oh, like, we get to see everybody else shine, and like they get a lot more airtime, which is something Dragon Ball's been doing better at lately. You know what I mean, with the Tournament of Power and stuff like that. But I just didn't quite it didn't quite take it home for me. Piccolo just turning orange and slug-like wasn't like that exciting. Piccolo didn't have like what I love about him. He had the personality that I love about him, but he didn't have the battle tactics that I loved about him. In fact, he was kind of dumb with like not forgetting that he could change size and stuff like that. Like, what I loved about Piccolo in the past was he always had a plan. He always had like a second reason. He always had a trick up his sleeve. He didn't really have tricks or plans or anything. Like, he was improvising just like everybody else does in this, and I was disappointed for that. Gohan, as much as Gohan is not one of my favorite characters, I'm here for it when if they can bring him back and make him do something. And I was excited about the Tournament of Power when they were going to make him leader, but they just kind of like that just turned into a joke and everybody went their own way. I wanted to see the universe do some really cool teamwork planning and stuff like that, and they just kind of like broke it off, and I was disappointed in that. And then I didn't like the transformation. I'm just going to straight up say it was too similar to the Ultra Instinct one, the early one that I forget the exact name of. I liked Pan. I think it was nice that they showed Pan a little bit. I think I didn't mind the Gohan's family life kind of part of it and the slice of life bits a little bit. Dr. Hito, I didn't disappreciate him, but I didn't think he was a standout character. I think his two androids were kind of cool, and I liked them, and I'd like to see more of them. But I think like what I'd like to see about them was not necessarily what I saw about them so far. But I did like them at the end. And I'm going to call them thing one and thing two, even though they're not. But now we've lost one of them, so that's kind of disappointing too, because I like them better as a pair of twins. Um, it left some lore, but it didn't leave lore that we can really use because it's basically this is the last thing in the animated series right now. You know what I mean? It's the end. It's the latest part of the manga. So if they're going to make another movie, they've sort of painted themselves into a corner because they already made the other three and made a box set out of them and stuff like that with Frieza, Broly, and the other one. And now they've got like, if this is starting a new trilogy, it's going to have to delve straight into the future. But at the same time, there's not like a lot to delve into. Like we're going to have to make all new canon all the way through, which is fine. I thought Whis was really stupid the way they handled Whis straight up. I didn't. Always liked Beerus. Like I don't think I've ever not liked Beerus, and I liked him again in this. And like I said, I was kind of amused at how the planet's getting overpopulated, and Beerus like is putting up with it because one of them is a girl, and Whis is putting up with it because they have food, and that's fine. But I really didn't like the way they handled Whis, and I think that that's something we didn't touch on earlier. Um, so I'm not going to say I hate it because there's some really bad Dragon Ball movies out there, and I'd be doing a disservice if I was comparing this to the bad ones because there's Dragon Ball movies have some ones and twos for sure. Um, but and what it is actually is not that bad. It's just disappointing compared to what I feel like it could have been with just a little bit more to it.
I understand you're disappointed with the transformation. Like, I mean, it's really weird because like I mean you didn't like either transformation, I guess, based on that, but I was more disappointed with Piccolo. Um, I also was more disappointed with Piccolo in this movie specifically for you because I know that you like Piccolo, and
Yeah,
when they had teased that he was getting a transformation, I was like, oh, does that mean Piccolo's like? I mean, I know he's been training, but does that mean he's gonna get some screen time? And I will
yeah.
say, I will kind of disagree. I mean, Piccolo did fairly well for what he was given. Surprisingly
Yeah.
freaking well because most of the time he usually gets shot in the chest and he's just left on the battlefield on his back, and you have
But
to.
even then, it's cool because he's so freaking durable and tenacious compared to the others. Like, here's the thing about Piccolo. For me, the most entertaining people to fight, besides possibly Goku, to watch in a fight when they go out there, and Goku because they just straight up put the most work into it. My favorite two characters to watch in a fight is Piccolo and Krillin. And I know that sounds weird, but those are the two. Krillin is very, very good at making the most out of what he has to work with, except in the tournament of power. He can be a thorn in someone's side. He's a fantastic team player. Like you see him team up with Piccolo, you see him team up with Gohan, you see him team up with Goku. He's the out of all the characters, he's the best team player. He has a really good. He's tricky. He's got a good variety of attacks between the destructive disc and the solar flare, and his extremely good energy manipulation that he can do creative things with like Kamehamehas and all that stuff. He's got good reflexes and instincts and things like that. Krillin is a lot of fun to watch fight. I mean, he even used a shoe in a fight once, and like effectively. And he's really, really fun to watch in a fight, even though I know he's going to lose. I'm like, this person is going to make them wish they didn't fight. And Piccolo always has, he never comes directly in with his attacks. He always has a plan. He always has a secondary like trick up his sleeve, and he has such a versatile set of skills as well that I'm always ready and amused and excited to see what sort of things he's going to do. My all-time favorite attack with Piccolo was when he was shooting at Android 17, and he's firing over and over and over again. And at first 17 is feeling really cocky, and he's like, "Ha ha ha, ha, you're missing me," and like, and then he's like, "Wait a minute, is he even trying to hit me at this point?" And then he looks up and he's got that grenade. I forget what he calls it, calzone grenade or something like that, where he closes his hand and they all fly on him at once. And he like, knowing that this guy could probably dodge any 2 or 3 of his shots, he made like 70 of them at once and then closed in on him. So he, you know what I mean, didn't have much of a choice but to get hit. So I love moves like that with Piccolo. I think there was one shot, it was either him or Slug, where he like jams his hand to the ground and it comes up underneath him. He like, he's got really, really, really good plans behind of all of his attacks. And he's able to like manipulate people and confuse people, and he's selfless. You know what I mean? He's always throwing himself in harm's way to protect the ones he loves, running out in the tournament of power and having his arms blasted off to like repeatedly to slow down the sniper so that they can figure out its location. Like he's like really, really courageous and brave and strong and like able. And I didn't see any of that stuff that I really admire about his fighting style in this, and I was looking forward to it. Even Krillin, with Krillin's small amount of fighting, Krillin still like knocked in a destructo disc at a key time and stuff like that, and was like he was way out of his league in this, but he was still managed to be a thorn in their side. You know what I mean? Like Krillin did a lot of good assists, and when he finally did go into battle, he held his own, and nobody really had to worry about him, despite him being the weakest fighter on the field. But Piccolo, I just felt like, and this was just their tank, and that was kind of it. And if that's what he had to be, that's what he had to be. But like, he wasn't really
I mean,
the
this
brilliant
form.
fighter that I expect him to be.
I mean, this new form, though. I mean, granted, you know, this is no excuse. At the same time, it's like, you know, he just got this new form. Apparently, he awakened. I mean, I would give him some slack in terms of his like fighting style. There, I mean, he wouldn't know. Like, he doesn't know exactly what
Are
this.
you gone?
What? Hello? Hello?
Hello? Now I'm not sure if you really are gone.
Hello?
I can't hear you, and I've changed none of my settings.
I didn't do anything.
Type something if you can at least hear me. I see you typing, so I know you can hear me. I cannot hear you back. Nothing's changed. I haven't touched anything, so are you sure? Is it on your side?
Can't be. The input device is the mic.
All right, well, I'll check my settings, but I can't think of any reason.
I didn't mute myself. Hello?
I'll move you to one of my speakers. Say something.
Hello?
Okay. You're speaking through one of my monitors now, and I can hear you. I don't know what the problem with my conference call line was, though.
I mean, I just say what I got to say until we ended here. I guess this movie was probably more for Gohan fans than anything else, and it's probably unfortunate considering Piccolo is here and Piccolo and Gohan was fighting together. A lot of it, I think, the issue, and this is probably the issue with Gohan, it isn't just Akira's writing of him. Well, I guess it is his writing of him, but it's
Gohan and Piccolo don't even have their famous bond in this, though. They threw it away for like some like throwaway like parts with him and Pan, which is disappointing because like I mean like, that would be okay as a side plot like in like a different movie, but when these two are going to be together through the whole thing, you want to see them like being besties.
well, I mean, it was obvious that they probably haven't been hanging around too much. I mean, Gohan himself has been busy with his job.
Okay, but still, like, if I went 2 months without talking to you and we got back on the phone, like we'd pretty much be like old times. Like once you hit a certain point knowing people, you can pick up where you left off to some extent.
I don't know. I mean, like I said before, I think some of like what Gohan's character, like that, some of like the parts that were probably not really that great with him as a kid, probably transferred over to him as an adult. which is probably really bad considering Gohan's. One of the things about Gohan, and I feel like it was still here, and it had a lot to do with his fight and with Piccolo getting his like arms being blown off here. Was Gohan's indecisiveness, having to be pushed all the dang time by Piccolo. Unfortunately, it doesn't really lead to a bonding moment with them in the anime period. So
The dude's picking up his daughter at daycare.
he's bonding with his daughter though, not with Gohan.
What I'm saying is he's doing is picking up a bro's like kid from daycare 6 times is doing a pretty good solid. I don't know. Plus, like we've seen how wholesome and like stable he is. Like in the Goku Black Saga, like Trunks came over to see them and like was just inspired, and they just went out to get ice cream and had dinner, and like Trunks thought that was the most incredible thing in the world, and was like super inspired by it. Like,
But I mean, Gohan was still kind of very indecisive there because I mean he was sitting there wondering if he should ask Trunks if something's wrong because Gohan knew that Trunks was there for a reason. Didn't even bother going out of his way to even ask. And I feel like he had just as much of a bond with Trunks, future Trunks, as he did with Piccolo. I mean, I know he had more of a bond with Piccolo because he was trained as a little kid. But I feel like there was still like a little bond there because even Gohan was a kid. Gohan was a teen when future Trunks came to save him from dying.
it's sort of abrupt if that's the case, because even in the tournament of power, the two of them had each other's back. It sort of comes out of nowhere if that's the case.
I mean, I think it's probably just comes down to like, I don't know. I mean, I know that, and I usually try to ignore this actual factual truth in Japan, but it's just that people don't like Gohan, and it's probably just like maybe it's just the treatment of their relationship. Even though Toriyama likes, even though Toriyama likes.
As a writer, why would you write this rift in a movie about the two of them? Why would you treat Gohan badly because he's unpopular, but then also choose to make him the star of a movie? It's just bad writing.
I mean, you made a point with Gohan being the leader of the tournament of power. He got treated like complete garbage there too. And I'm saying Gohan's treatment, like I mean, this isn't as I'm going on a tangent of how much I hate how Gohan's gotten treated over the years. Gohan, like if there's been a character that's been completely treated wrongly and unfairly so, it's Gohan, and it started, and I hate. This is like why Gohan, like over the years, I realized Gohan's become my favorite character, based on how I feel about how his treatment has been. Like Vegeta gets treated pretty badly too, but I don't get this up in arms about him. It's just like I really liked Gohan as a kid. Gohan's involvement with Piccolo was really a cool little bit of a in addition. I mean, leading to the whole Piccolo as Gohan's real father little thing on the internet. But it's just like his treatment. I feel like even if it was done better here, and I feel like this is an apology. If the relationship with him and Piccolo, I don't know what happened there. I will admit that it was very not there. I think the best they were willing to do was the whole him picking up his daughter thing. I mean, Piccolo, like when he first even talks to Gohan in the movie, he's very upset with him as it is. Him not training or even picking up his daughter. Like it could have been possibly them just forgetting, which is I know it's a really bad excuse, and apparently it sometimes happens a lot. Sometimes you just forget. Though I will say, if I was writing a character, I would try my best to make sure I remembered every single bit that really mattered. If I had to do something really important, I at least have a sticky note somewhere written down, like, hey, this is something they're able to do. Have a character bio, or listen to your fans as you're writing stuff. I feel like Piccolo's transformation was like a long time coming. It's unfortunately got wasted in the movie. I feel like it probably could have been done better. It could have been used better in the actual anime, but they didn't do it. Could Gohan's hair, because Gohan's transformation in general could have been done differently. Yeah, I just don't know where they could have gone with it. If I'm being legitimately honest, I don't know where they could have gone with it. I will admit, when I did first see this, because I actually got spoiled on this form at some point, I thought it was fake. So I wasn't even aware how real it was. It's like I don't hate it. If anything, I like it more just because it's kind of like, I think what it comes down to, and maybe this is the problem with a lot of Gohan fans, as I ended here, This form looks like it might have been a response to a lot of people being angry at Toriyama and saying, you should have done this with Gohan. I like Teen Gohan so much more, and stuff like that. You know, the Super Saiyan 2 thing and him beating Cell. People really cling, and I admit, we cling to the Super Saiyan 2 Teen Gohan thing a little bit too much. And that's probably what this is a result of, is like his form. This is what this is a result of. If we probably hadn't clinged to it so much, maybe it would have looked vastly different. Who really knows? But at the same time, we only cling to it because Gohan's treatment has been really bad. It's just the truth. Gohan got treated a tiny bit better here. Piccolo got treated, I think, maybe a little bit better than Gohan here, even if Piccolo didn't do a lot of heavy lifting here. I still think Piccolo did way better in his fight situations than like Gohan probably did. As much as I liked the special beam cannon, I freaked out about that. Yeah, it's just one of those things. It was like they really rehashed a lot of the Cell Saga. Is really what this movie comes down to. If you like the Cell Saga, you will probably like this. If you didn't, I would move on to another movie.
Yeah. But that being said, it had the highest Rotten Tomatoes score of all time, and it's, I don't know. I think it's a 7.
I'm still gonna stick with my 8. I won't go any higher. I'm really, for me, just because of Gohan, you know, they're doing something. They did something with them. I'm not expecting any more. I honestly had kind of given up on them doing anything with him, so this was just shocked that they were doing a movie with him in it. So I guess next month will be us reviewing the My Hero Academia movie. So looking forward to that. So I think it's like the third movie for sure. Just gotta get the name of it. Here, yeah. My Hero Academia World Heroes Mission. That one's apparently, from what I can tell from the back of this, is like about Bakugo, Midoriya, and Todoroki, so that's gonna be interesting. But because we've been dragging this on, I've been dragging this on. We'll see you guys next month at the earliest, maybe July 3rd, but maybe not, considering that's like right before July 4th, so it might be the next week.